for the new listeners out there, this is another EA member of the family. My sister, cousin Ed's cousin, Mikey Produci's wife, and Coach Ed's daughter. And she is a PA, I guess registered in New York and now in Florida. So every once in a while, we bring her on to analyze some injuries, and we don't root for her to come on the show, but we're always happy to have her. So there she is, EA the PA.
Welcome back.
Thanks for having me back. I've been waiting anxiously.
Say that a little less sarcastically next time.
I really have. I've been on here for like an hour waiting.
Oh, sorry.
You meant talking in the past hour, not in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. We've been bantering about so much stuff. So did you get a chance to see the Chytil injury, the fast hit on Chytil that would lead to his injury?
Yeah, that's why I asked you if they said it was definitely a concussion, because to me, it looked like his neck more than his head.
Well, so the beat reporters are saying it was a concussion. The team has not said anything but upper body injury. And it's funny you say that, because back in the day, Sidney Crosby was getting a lot of concussions, and then, they were worried that he was going to be out for like years, but it ended up being a neck injury. So can you explain that, how maybe a concussion and a neck injury are related, or why you thought it was a neck injury?
Because it didn't look like it didn't look like the two helmets collided to me. It looked like he tensed up, like his shoulders went up and his neck kind of his head kind of turtled in. So to me, that looked like it would be like a muscular injury or even a cervical injury.
So when you say cervical, you mean bone?
Yeah. Did anyone else look at it, or?
Can't you get a concussion from a whiplash type of action?
That's what I was going to say. Whereas, like, isn't concussion just like your brain just rattling? So could his neck jerking cause that as well, instead of just impact?
Yeah, it's just not the fact that he's been out for so long. The odds of it being that bad from not actually colliding is weird. I mean, I know he's had a lot of concussions, so they could just be extra cautious at this point, but like usually, I mean, you could have both, obviously, like we saw it in the football game, one of the football games on Sunday, the two helmets collided and his neck crunched down. So like you can have a traumatic brain injury from that, and then you could get a broken neck from the collision.
So you're saying that it's either, if it's a concussion, that he probably would be back already if it was only a concussion, based on you're questioning why he'd still be out unless they're just being extra cautious.
That, and he could have like post-concussion syndrome. That's when you have symptoms past 10 days from their initial injury. So he could have persisting symptoms, and that's why they're not letting him come back. I don't really know, because it's been it happened the end of October, or?
Yes.
He got hit the same game as Fox, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a pretty long time.
Yeah, I think I'd have to agree with, like, usually when they're out this long, it's more, we wouldn't be questioning it the way that we are, and the media and everyone, all the fans, So if it was like a high impact hit causing him to be out this long, it would be an easier question to answer, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, if they're being extra cautious, I guess you wouldn't really know the answer to this question. Why wouldn't they at least let him skate a little bit? I mean, I guess he could be skating without the team, and they just don't have any videos of him.
No, they said he hasn't skated.
Okay.
They came out and said he hasn't skated.
How much of that's actually true? I feel like the Rangers feed the media a lot of nonsense just to get them to kind of go away, or even the Rangers are trying to, like, I don't know what's manipulate the media in a way. I feel like we see that a lot, but I guess back to the injury itself. I mean, when you say a neck injury, do you mean like the spine or the spinal cord or just like the muscles around the neck or the actual like vertebrae?
Everything. It seems more like muscular to me though. And you guys have all had like low back pain, low back injuries and stuff. Like you know how long that could persist for. So obviously that could come from the vertebrae themselves and the nerves and then the muscles. So you can have all of it, you can have one of it. I feel like it could be that he has both. Like you said, Ed, with a concussion, if you have a coup and a counter coup injury, that's the two like mechanisms of a concussion. So the coup is like an initial impact on the, say you hit the front of your head, that's the coup injury, and then the counter coup is when the brain hits the back of your head when it bounces. So you could technically have like a counter coup from not having direct impact. Does that make
Interesting.
sense?
Yeah, I think that's what Coach Ed was trying to say before, kind of
Yeah.
with the rattling effect. I mean, that's how we were always taught to keep an eye on it as coaches. Because I mean, they specifically said it's not always caused by direct impact, and that's like something that's misunderstood, especially by coaches. It's like, oh, you're fine, get out there, like you didn't even hit your head, type thing. So that's something they always stress when we were coaching the younger kids, at least.
This is the tweet. Go ahead, Coach.
If it's a neck muscle, I mean, I obviously have had plenty of back pain in my time. If it's your neck, like by the back of your head, you'd still be able to skate and keep a little active. I feel like with concussion stuff, with concussion issues, the bright lights affect you, the motion. There's a lot more activities that would affect it, making you dizzy and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to lean towards
the cervical though. Yeah, but if it's the cervical, that's different. If it's a bone, on a spinal issue.
Yeah, you would want to keep it as still as possible. I would say they wouldn't want them to do anything.
Right. Yeah, but when I have the back issues and we had practice a couple of weeks ago, when I'm skating, it loosens it up more. When you're inactive, to me, it tightens up.
Yeah, but think about if you have a
vertebrae.
Yeah, if you
now we're saying his vertebrae's broken.
Maybe
she's saying it could be.
Tweak your neck a little bit, just sleeping on it the wrong way. The next morning is miserable. You can't move your neck right for the next day and a half. But
we also don't have the ability to go to the training facility and get a massage twice a day.
Let me read
taken care of.
Let me read the quote. Let me read the quote from Mercogliano's podcast. Chytil does not seem to be any closer to returning to the ice. He was eligible to come off IR and play on Sunday. This is back on November 16. He did not. As of Wednesday, he's still yet to take the ice since sustaining his concussion. You have to be concerned with the history of concussions. One source told me Chytil's had at least 4 concussions in his career, if not more. The more concussions you have, the more likely you are to sustain another. This goes beyond hockey. This is a life concern. This time, it seems like it's been really difficult for him to get back to the point where he's comfortable getting back on the ice. It's not a good situation beyond the hockey stuff. I don't think anybody knows when the next time we're going to see him is. His health is the number one priority right now. So that's pretty dramatic. Like he's saying it's a concussion. Yeah, it's very dramatic. But he's saying that's he's adamant it's a concussion. So the Rangers haven't said that, but he's got a source that is adamant that Chytil's been concussed. He wouldn't make those comments. I mean, he's a pretty reliable beat reporter. But that sounds really 4 or more concussions. I mean, that's Eric Lindros territory, right? That's a lot of concussions at 23 years old. I don't know. Scary stuff, but I just don't understand it. I watched the hit and then Eddie, you made a good point. The brain moves in the skull. And that can cause a concussion, I guess. But you're right, Erin. There's no head contact. So I'm like, how does he get concussed on that? If he's concussed on that hit, then he can't play hockey. That's the That's too dangerous for him.
Imagine if he gets laid out by someone. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's too dangerous of a game for him then if he's getting concussed from that, I think. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
just from his health perspective,
Yeah.
Well, plus
So how does that
everybody's
work?
different.
How does that work with multiple concussions makes it more likely you get one in the future? Is that true?
So that is true. I couldn't find any. I was looking it up before because I've known that that's a fact, but there's no like evidence as to why. I guess because your brain is technically damaged. So the more it's not like healthy brain tissue anymore. So I feel like when it happens again, it's gonna affect you worse. The other thing is if you return too early, I feel like you're more likely to get injured, like any injury.
Does the
Your
brain tissue heal?
Yeah, it rebuilds itself, but that's why people get CTE because the brain is restructuring itself over and over, and it's like scar tissue, so it can't function the same. It doesn't function like your healthy, normal brain tissue anymore. And then there's like buildup of it's like these proteins, and then it builds up near the vessels basically, and it's kind of how like strokes are, like ischemic strokes when there's a blood clot in the brain, and then all that tissue in the area dies. It's the same idea. So that's why people got like the behavior change, they get memory loss. A lot of people end up killing themselves because they're so depressed.
For those that don't know what CTE is that are listening, can you explain what that is? Just generally?
It stands for chronic traumatic encephalopathy. So it's from repeated head injuries. It's mostly studied in boxing, football, hockey, all contact sports pretty much. They talk about soccer, which is interesting to me. It's like, I don't know how.
I mean, there's a
too
lot
many
more
dives.
collisions. There are a lot of collisions, and they don't wear any protection.
Maybe hitting the ball with their
I was
head.
going to say that heading the ball, yeah.
And they whip their head when they do it.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
when
guess
they
that's
fake,
true.
maybe when they fake their injuries, they fall and hit their head by mistake.
Yeah. Well, hopefully he comes back soon and he can play again. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm as dramatic as Vince with the concerns, but if he really is, uncomfortable even getting on the ice and it's been a month, he might be out for a long time, and if we got to we start having a conversation at that point, who's going to play third line center, or it's going to be Nick Bonino the whole year. So, we're going to start having that conversation, but
I got another
right.
medical question.
Any more questions
before Erin goes?
Go
Not
ahead.
about Nick Bonino playing third line center. Are certain people more susceptible to it? Like we say, a boxer some guys can take a punch, some can't. So are certain people susceptible to it for what I call soft?
Yeah, I was reading up on CTE, and apparently there's like people who have a genetic predisposition to the certain buildup of protein. So it's like if you're involved in these sports and you get concussions or frequent brain injuries, then you're more likely to develop it than someone who doesn't have that genetic predisposition. So they're getting more into studying the genetics of it, which is interesting.
Interesting.
But it's not about like being, soft. It's actually they can't help it. But that's part of it. Like it's hard. It's because the person is telling you their symptoms, so it's like hard to really assess it. Like one of the assessments is how bad is your headache, and like obviously everyone's pain tolerance is different, and their rating of their pain would be, some people say it's a 10 out of 10, and then someone else might say that's only a 2 out of 10. So it's more about making sure it's not getting more severe or worse, I guess. And that's related to them returning to the sport too. If if they do light exercise, that's like in step 2, just like increasing your heart rate. And then you have symptoms, then they dial it back and they take a day break and then they start again at step 2 and hope that you don't have symptoms. And if you keep having symptoms, they just keep on taking a day. So that could be why he's still out. He could be stuck on like step 3 is returning to individual sport exercise. So that'd be like skating, or I guess any like off ice drills you guys might do. And then if he keeps on having these exacerbated symptoms, his symptoms are worse, then they can't really do anything. Like, they have to just let him be in charge of returning, you know?
Wow. Yeah, I think the league is very strict now. I don't know all the protocols, but the league has got sued by former players for pretty much letting guys play with concussion symptoms and causing them to get more concussions. Guys suffering from CTE, things like that. So I think there was a huge lawsuit against the league. I don't remember when that was, maybe 10 years ago. It was a while ago. So the league has very strict protocols for liability reasons, and teams are usually extra cautious with concussion. So even if he's saying, we don't know what he's saying. He might be saying, yeah, I still have a headache, but it's not that bad. And they're like, all right, you're not playing till you don't have a headache, so I don't care. So who knows, how it's working.
Right. And there's, like, you have to be out 7 to 10 days. They probably are going to go on the safe side and say 10 days. And then it's a 6-step return to sport strategy. So then that's 16 days. And if that's if you get it perfect and you feel fine. If obviously, like I said, if you keep backpedaling, then you could be out 30 days, 40 days. So
yeah. Well, hopefully you can start skating soon and get back. But yeah, let's keep an eye on the neck injury thing. I think you make a good point. He is out for a while, and he might have a minor concussion with a neck injury as well, right? That could be a problem. So,
Dad and Ed, do they train you guys on like the on the ice questions you ask kids when they get hit?
Well, they did years ago when we were at Chaminade. We had to take the concussion protocol.
We were supposed to ask them like what day of the week it is, what school do you go to, like just like basic questions like that, I guess, right?
Where are we right now?
Yeah, the rink, what rink are we playing in? Kind of like, yeah.
And then I was always told to look at the pupils.
Yeah.
If they're really large or really small.
Yeah, so exactly. It's like the orientation questions, and then the pupils are important because if one is larger than the other, that's more indicative of like a brain bleed. So they probably taught you guys like how to look for those red flags, like excessive vomiting. That's not normal, obviously.
That's the big.
When I played in juniors, one of my teammates got badly concussed, and he came back to the bench at first, and he was like, I'm fine. And we were looking at him. He didn't look fine. Like, his eyes were like, he looked like he wasn't even there. And then he just started vomiting on the bench, like immediately, like within like 5 minutes of the concussion. And then they took him off. And that's when I learned that vomiting, there's a whole thing the coach had to explain to us. Like, if you feel like you got a head injury, you can't lay on your back. You have to do, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy. This whole process, you could vomit while on your back or something. You could die if you choke on your vomit or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There was a whole process with it.
Yeah. So it's really common that they get like a blank look too. That's probably what you noticed in your friend.
Yeah, he was just
like a blank stare. Yeah.
Like he forgot what he was doing.
Yeah, and they always forget what happened. Like, if you say what just happened, why do you have a headache, or what can you tell me what happened in this play? They never remember. That's like, then it's like, okay, you have to come off.
Well, his concussion is probably caused by the fact that he never wore his mouthpiece, and instead he would pack a full lip on the bottom during the game, and he probably swallowed that when he got hit.
Yeah,
so
that's probably why.
That's why he was throwing up.
Yeah,
Gross.
Anyway, thank you for coming on. I know you waited a long time. I appreciate that. And hopefully we can have you on soon, but also hopefully not, because hopefully all these guys get healthy. So hopefully I see you in person soon and we don't have to talk about Rangers injuries.
What happened to Adam Fox?
He's got a sprained knee and he's skating finally. There's a knee-on-knee collision. You didn't see that? I'll send you that video.
I was trying to Google it because I heard you guys talking about it just before. And
You
it
gotta
said
check
lower
Twitter.
body.
Twitter has all the videos. Just type in Fox knee injury on Twitter in the search and you'll find it.
I have a
Definitely come
question for you related to our team. We have a player who was diagnosed with an upper high ankle sprain. Doctor said 4 to 6 weeks. What can we
What's
do to
the
get him back
question?
for Friday? What can we do to get him back for Friday? What can we do to get him back? What can we do to get him back for next Friday?
Tape it up.
When did it happen?
Last Saturday.
I mean,
This past Saturday, so like 4 days ago.
Can it get worse? Is my question.
yeah, of course. I think
If
a
it's
high
taped up, can it
ankle
get worse?
that has to do with like the ligaments between the two bones in your leg, the tibia and fibula, has to do with those ligaments, and then also the ones that connect your foot to your leg bones. So I wouldn't mess around with that, Dad.
Can I send him to Dr. Sun?
Yeah, but you
Okay.
can't. You can't like. Yeah, you're gonna get.
All right, we're not forcing the kid to play. Everyone listening, he's out for 4 to 6 weeks.
Oh God! All right, EAthePA.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
coming on, Aaron.
No further questions.
Your
Nope.
Honor.
No further questions. I rest
Unless
my
Coach Ed
case.
has a random question about a player that played 6 years ago for us or something.
I'm good.
Okay.
He just likes to talk to her. That's all.
I can give you the like on the field or on the ice concussion thing. You should post to Instagram maybe if you want.
Yeah, send that the 6-step process you were talking about.
Well, the return to that, and then there's the like the non-medical provider questionnaire thing that coaches and trainers do when
Is
they
that
think
for
someone
youth
has a
or
concussion.
NHL?
What?
Is that for the NHL or is it youth?
It's for anyone that's 13 and older, so that's what the NHL uses, I'm sure.
Yeah, send it over and we'll post it to Instagram for sure. That's a good idea.
The more you guys know.
All right. Thank you, Erin.
Okay, how do I get off of this thing?
Just hit leave studio.
Okay.
Love you.
Love you guys. Bye.
Have a good night. Love you.
All right. So that was interesting. I thought about a neck injury with him, but Vince was so adamant that it was a concussion, and I really trust Vince. He's our best beat reporter right now. So I don't know. We'll see. It's something to look out for.